Welcome, folks. It is Wednesday, October the 1st. We have cleared the busiest month, typically, in the tropics, which is September. But October can be just as busy sometimes. And tonight on Hurricane Hub Live, we are going to be talking about areas that you may look for to find activity as we head into the month of October. Of course, we've got Imelda still out there, and tonight it is stronger. It's up to a Cat 2, and it is making a beeline towards Bermuda. In fact, it's approaching landfall there in the next couple of hours. And we've got a brand new area of interest that was just tagged from the National Hurricane Center coming out of the main development region, which is a bit unusual to find at this point in the season. Typically, that starts to shut down, and we see other areas start to become a little more active. So here we are coming down off of the peak of the season, September the 30th and October the 1st. October, especially the first half, is still typically quite active. Not as active, of course, as September, where a third of all named storms occur. But you've got about 17% of named storms that have happened in the month of October. So the third busiest out of the 6-month season, of course, from June 1st all the way to November the 30th. So what are some areas that we look for origin of storms in October? Well, of course, the Gulf, which for the most part has remained inactive this season, meaning all of that warm ocean water hasn't been tapped yet. Also, the Caribbean, in particular, the Western Caribbean, can typically feed some cells that are holding together or waves, and then they enter the Gulf and they start to develop very quickly from there. And then the Southwest Atlantic is also quite active this time of the year, which we just saw coming out of the end of September that held Imelda and Umberto. This area is also going to be someplace that we look for activity. Notice that the main development region is not mentioned, because typically that's mostly active in August and September, even in July as well. There have been some very powerful hurricanes that have developed in October. More recently, last season, Milton in 2024, and of course Michael, that was a Cat 5 in 2016. Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, it's known as, back in 2012. Wilma in 2005, and going all the way back to the 50s, a big one, Hazel, developed in October. So here's a look at our season so far. We are now up to 9 named storms with the naming of Imelda. We've had 4 hurricanes, 3 of which have been major hurricanes. So we are quickly kind of recouping those numbers. An average season is roughly around 14 named storms. So we still got a little ways to go to break even, and we may do so in October. All right, out there right now in the basin, still some activity. We're tracking Imelda here. That is still a Cat 2 at this hour. It is moving very, very quickly off to the east. And the remnants of Umberto, in fact, they've ceased putting any advisories out on it anymore. It's been absorbed by a frontal boundary, and some of its energy has actually been absorbed by Imelda. Remember, these storms were in very close proximity. They were interacting with one another, something called the Fujiwara effect. And typically, the stronger the storm will start to absorb the weaker. And that's exactly what Imelda did. And it's up to a Category 2 storm, 100-mile-per-hour winds as of the 8 o'clock advisory here. Picking up speed. It is cruising east-northeast at 24 miles an hour, but it is heading towards a populated area. There, you can see it, Bermuda, right there. It's probably an hour or 2 out from possibly making landfall there. A little bit tough to get landfall in Bermuda. Small island, big ocean. But just last year, Ernesto did make landfall in Bermuda. And there was a year, 2014, Faye and Gonzalo, 2 hurricanes in the same season, made landfall in Bermuda. So this may be one this year. You can see it pretty well defined here on visible satellite imagery. It's a little bit lopsided, not so much of the activity off to the south and west, a little bit more sheared with more of the activity here off to the north and northeast of that storm center there. And that's to be expected with a system that's starting to get a little bit more sheared and moving a little bit quicker. But here's the track on it. It's the 5 o'clock advisory here. We are not too far away from a potential landfall in Bermuda. There is a Cat 2. It is expected to strengthen a little bit, up to 105 maximum intensity there as it's passing Bermuda. And then it moves off to the east and eventually northeast into the open North Atlantic, and becomes extratropical, makes that transition, and weakens as it does so. So there are ongoing warnings. Hurricane warning now up for the island of Bermuda. Imminent threat there of conditions going to be up to hurricane force wind speeds, probably already underway there in those areas. So it's an imminent threat. And you can look at the wind radii here. Everything in yellow is the extent of tropical storm force winds. And in the red, you're going to find hurricane force winds. So already seeing tropical storm force winds 39 miles per hour or greater. And as we go out a little bit farther, it looks like hurricane force winds arriving there overnight tonight. Thankfully, it is moving fast, so it's going to be in and out of here. And by sunup Thursday morning, should really start to see improving conditions as now Imelda moves out into the open Atlantic. Pretty big wave generator, too. We're seeing various buoys here picking up on 10, 15, close to 20-foot waves out there, pretty far out from the center of Imelda, so these waves are propagating out. It's been a big issue down through the Outer Banks of North Carolina with numerous homes that have fallen into the ocean there with the rough surf and rip current risk and tidal flooding. It's like the third occurrence so far this season of seeing that type of thing. Now looking out in time, going out a week or so, and we start to highlight this area here. Keep that in mind, okay? Because the brand new area of interest that we just saw tagged is exactly that area. This is for the 8th through the 14th, and going out 3 weeks from now, or the 15th through the 21st, does start to highlight the western Gulf, an area we saw to look for, Caribbean, southern Gulf, and then the eastern Pacific. This is for a Central American gyre potentially setting up here. And typically what that is just a large area of low pressure, and sometimes little spindles of energy kind of just get broken off. And where they eject into, any of these basins, can facilitate development. So that's what we'll watch for there. That's a pretty good signal. Moderate odds 3 weeks out, so we'll have to watch that area carefully by the middle of the month. Here's that brand new area of interest put out by the National Hurricane Center. Low risk, but this wave is likely one we're going to be talking about significantly over the next 7 to 10 days as it makes its way across the main development region and potentially maybe impacting the Leeward Islands or could get into the Caribbean, which has been untapped. The warmest, deepest, warmest waters of the entire basin are currently located there. So if we get a wave that's relatively robust moving over there, things could get interesting real quick. So we'll watch that right now. Again, nothing to worry about. 20% chance of that becoming our next named storm, which is Jerry. Out in the eastern Pacific, we do have a little more activity once again. One named storm, Octave, and then another one here that's got a high chance of developing into potentially its 16th named storm of the season. Track on Octave here, not doing much. Going to remain a tropical storm. High-end tropical storm wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility we see it overperform and become, I believe that would be like the 9th hurricane so far this season in the basin. If it does get to hurricane status, again, not impacting any land, which is the good news. Here's our ongoing scorecard. We're up to 9 named storms in the Atlantic, 4 hurricanes, 3 majors, 15 currently in the Pacific, 8 hurricanes, and 3 majors there. All right, that's the latest on the tropics, folks. We're going to take a quick break, and we've got a couple stories for you from the Outer Banks of North Carolina for the impacts of Imelda and Umberto. Welcome back to Hurricane Hub Live. Storm systems churning off the coast have claimed a total of 6 homes along North Carolina's Outer Banks. This is video from our crews on scene yesterday. The moments when several homes collapsed into the ocean in Buxton on Hatteras Island. Alex Littlehales is there again today with the latest.
Even for those who call Hatteras Island home.
I'm surprised it was 5 within an hour. Yes, I am, but I'm not surprised that many went.
This view is unrecognizable.
We know it's going to happen. It's just, what are you willing to give up?
6 houses along Buxton's eroding oceanfront are now gone, all lost on the same day. Now, all that's left is the debris crashing against the tide, and whatever cleanup lies ahead.
Yeah, I am, because when I moved down here, back down here in 22, they actually did a beach nourishment, and the beach was far, far away.
Tisha Simon has lived here a long time, but even this is a surprising sight for her.
And even before they did the beach nourishment, they had dunes that were almost at the same level of the bottom of the houses.
Tropical systems Imelda and Umberto batter the last remaining houses along Tower Circle. Houses that stood once separated by hundreds of feet of land when visitors like Bruce Stoker started coming here.
A lot of beach in front of all these houses back in the earlier days, and just year after year we've watched the road, and you know, we've seen other houses in the past collapse right on this road right here.
As of Wednesday night, there are 7 houses left along this stretch of the Outer Banks, as spectators wait to see which ones could fall next.
It breaks my heart. It makes me sick, the environmental damage that's happening. Septic tanks, gas tanks, washing into the ocean. This has all been preventable.
Well, tropical activity in the Atlantic is also stirring up rough surf and stronger tides along Hampton roads. Hurricane Imelda won't make landfall anywhere near here, but city leaders say the risks are still real. Jordy Clark has how crews are preparing at the Lynnhaven Inlet and how some are taking advantage of the large waves.
Here at the Lynnhaven Inlet is one of the many places in Hampton Roads that is experiencing those high winds. Now, city officials in Virginia Beach say these types of conditions could bring dangerous rip currents as well as flooding concerns. But for some surfers, they say this is the type of weather they wait for. Tropical systems offshore aren't making a direct hit on Hampton Roads, but city officials say the impacts are still being felt. High surf, gusty winds, and higher than normal tides are rolling in as Virginia Beach crews stay on alert.
With the rainfall staying off the coast, that's the big one for us. We've got the gusty winds and the rough surf, and we'll have those higher than normal tides. But with the rain mostly staying offshore, that's a big relief for the city. So we're feeling pretty good right now that we can, weather through these tide cycles.
The city is keeping storm drains clear with public works crews on standby in case water starts to back up. The city is reminding residents to be ready with flashlights, food, and batteries in case the weather takes a turn. But not everyone is steering clear of the water. Lifelong surfer Randy Harris says rough surf brings out a different kind of excitement.
We're breaking, so everyone just gets excited about a storm coming. When a lot of people are getting nervous, the surfers and the foilers and all that are getting psyched. Anyone who does ocean sports, for the most part, the storms cause wind for sailing or winging or anything like that.
Still, Harris says safety has to come first.
Just make sure you get good coaching, so you know what you're doing, and don't ever, just know your limits. Know your limit.
Officials say that's the message for residents on shore. Enjoy the beach, but stay alert. In Virginia Beach, Jordy Clark, 13 News Now.
All right, folks, that's the latest on the tropics. Remember, we are here every evening, 7 days a week at 8 p.m. for the latest on the tropics on Hurricane Hub Live. We'll see you back here tomorrow.